Across the world, we often hear that religion divides people. Yet, in communities like Greater Dandenong, with faith communities in the Springvale, Dandenong, Keysborough, and Noble Park areas, something very different is happening. People from different faiths are sitting together, listening to one another, and building something rare, genuine understanding. Today, I'm joined by three remarkable women who are helping make that happen. Livia is the Interfaith Network's Executive Officer, coming from a Catholic background. Mehtap is the Interfaith Network's President. Mehtap is a Muslim, and Kaplan, OAM, is a Jewish community leader. Welcome to Monday Matters. I'm your host, Ian Bunston. Welcome, Livia, Mehtap, and Kathy. It's wonderful to have a chat with you ladies this morning. I'd like to get started with looking at the issue of strategies to unite faith communities. Livia, I'll start with you. I'm really keen to know what's happening in the Greater Dandenong Interfaith Network. Now, if you told people that religion can unite communities rather than divide them, many wouldn't believe you and take you seriously. What would you say to convince them otherwise?
Okay. Well, good morning, everybody, and thank you, Ian, for the invitation. A couple of things I would preface this question with is that, firstly, the Interfaith Network is the oldest network in Australia. In a couple of years, we will hit 40 years of age, and we're also a member-based organisation, and we came out of a grassroots movement. And interesting enough for us, in this time of challenges domestically and around the world, our membership is actually growing and growing exponentially. So I think that that's a very positive thing. So when in terms of Ian's question around how I'd convince people, I guess I start from the position of, as the executive officer, my role isn't so much to convince people, but to open the door, promote inclusivity, invite people in, let them know that they have a place at the table, and to start that engagement. If I focus on the convincing aspect, then we miss the opportunity of creating good, honest and trusting relationships, and then it becomes about the outcome. So that's where I start with what I do. In terms of what would I say, I would commence by suggesting that we should consider how religions, faiths, shared spirituality centres on building community, intentional purpose, shared values and social good. So actually focus on what holds us and brings us together, and that's primarily around shared values. We know when it comes to shared values, compassion, justice, peace, unity, empathy and charity are central. And this is not often the focus of what we see in the media or the work that gets done behind the scenes to actually unite people from different faiths, spiritual groups, and people of no faith at all, but are committed to our shared values. I would also suggest that in this context of convincing people that religions and faiths have been a key driver of social change in this country, a voice for the voiceless, and also a provider of social services to people who would otherwise be excluded or fall deeper into poverty. Fostering peace and interfaith collaboration is an important part of the conversation. Many faiths work together actively on promoting dialogue, peace, unity and understanding. And if I think about the great work of the City of Greater Dandenong, IFN, our interfaith places of worship tours and our annual commitment to one another through the signing of the common statement are two elements that really cement this idea of how religions and faiths and people who identify as having no faith come together to unite around shared values in service and to do good work for one another.
Livia, there's some remarkable things that are happening here. And if we continue this theme of finding common ground and shared beliefs, Mehtap, if I can come to you, I'd like to talk to you about the different faith and community groups finding common ground. And so in the time that you've been involved with the Greater Dandenong Interfaith Network, how have you seen this developing?
Again, thank you very much again for inviting me, and it's a pleasure to be here. And yes, I have been working in Dandenong area for over 10 years now, and in Greater Dandenong, which is the most culturally diverse communities in Australia, I've seen a real shift from people simply living side by side to genuinely connecting across faiths and cultures. But at the same time, of course, we can't ignore that racism and discrimination are still experienced by members of our community. But our council has been very proactive in addressing this through initiatives like the Racism Get Up, Speak Out campaign and the Racism Not Welcome campaign, as well as supporting local anti-racism networks and reporting tools to better respond to these issues. Yeah, so like I think even with the Interfaith Network, we work very closely with the council. We organize prayers before their council meetings as well, every council meeting that they have. Yeah, I think what's encouraging is how these challenges have strengthened collaboration as well through partnership between council and Interfaith Network and community organizations. There are now more opportunities for dialogue, education, and collective action. Programs like interfaith initiatives, community events, and social cohesion projects as well are helping people not only understand each other better, but also together against racism and division. So in Dandenong, I think finding common ground isn't just an idea, and it's something that we're actively working on, and especially in response to real challenges our community faces.
It's so refreshing to hear this story about people coming together from such diverse backgrounds. Can you, just before I move on to Kathy, can you just describe maybe just one event and what it kind of looks like in terms of all these different groups coming together?
We recently, for example, had a social cohesion initiative done with the council, with the Interfaith Network. We ran it, and with also the Home Affairs as well. So that was, just basically people talking about how we can create a better environment for our multicultural environment, like every from different religions. So I think these kind of initiatives really does bring make us talk about the issues that actually are happening, and hopefully we can, understand each other better, and how we can understand each other's communities and religions and backgrounds. So I think these conversations are really vital, I think, for everyone for all communities to talk about. So, I
Hmm.
mean, this is just the one example. I think I don't know if Livia or Kathy will be able to elaborate on more conversations that we had, but this is just pops up to my head at the moment.
No, that's wonderful. And look, wonderful to hear you've got such support from coming from the local council as well. I'm sure that that's a
Thank
big
you.
factor, which is great. Um, Kathy, I might move on to you in terms of respecting and understanding our differences. So, for you as a Jewish community leader, what do people outside your faith do you think often misunderstand?
As with my friends, I just want to say thank you for inviting me to this podcast. I think perhaps the biggest misunderstanding many non-Jews have is thinking that Judaism's a religion, because it's not. It's much more than that. Perhaps it's much better to think about Judaism as a people who share a culture, a language, and a story, to think of us as a family. Some of us are born into the family, some of us are adopted into the family, some of us marry into the family. And like any family, we argue. They say two Jews, at least three opinions. So even for those of us who don't believe in God, we're not homogeneous. We have denominations, if you will, as does Christianity.
Mm.
And for even God-believing Jews, we can disagree about fundamentals such as, did God dictate the Torah to Moses at Mount Sinai? Or is Torah God-inspired, written by many human hands over millennia? But something we all agree upon, in principle, even if not always in practice, whether we believe in God or not, that what matters is how we live today, how we behave, how we care for each other, Jew and non-Jew alike, and how we take responsibility in everyday moments. Judaism is totally today focused. We do our best to live out our values and hopefully contribute something meaningful to the wider human story.
Thanks, Kathy, for that. If I could go back to Mehtap in terms of, in fact, I'm going to come back to both Kathy and Mehtap with regard to your personal experiences. So, Mehtap, can you just help us understand how you feel as an Australian Muslim living in Australia?
As an Australian Muslim, I think my experience has been both deeply positive and at times challenging. I feel a strong sense of belonging and pride in being part of such a diverse and multicultural country such as Australia, especially in places like Greater Dandenong and where diversity is truly lived every day. But at the same time, there are moments where you are more aware of your identity, and particularly when issues of racism or misunderstandings arise. But those experiences also reinforce the importance of the work that we do through interfaith and community connections. What gives me hope is that the willingness of people to learn, to listen, and to stand together as well. And through that, I feel not only accepted but valued as well. And that's what continues to shape my experience in a positive way.
Okay, thanks for that. And Kathy, as I mentioned, I'd like to ask you the same question. How do you feel as I mentioned, an Australian Jewish leader in our community, living and interacting within the Australian community? And I mean, we've got some very interesting times that we're living through at this current period of time as well, keeping that in mind.
I think exactly what Mehtap's just said. I feel incredibly grateful, actually, but I'm also, to be honest, at the moment very wary and a bit scared. My
Yeah.
mum is a Holocaust survivor. She and Dad were actually expecting me when they arrived in Australia, the place where they knew interfaith relationships were possible, where there was curiosity, respect, and space to contribute to the broader community, regardless of your religious or cultural background. And I don't take that for granted. However, at the same time, there's a level of awareness that comes with being Jewish in Australia today, especially now. Not all Australians are as tolerant of differences as we'd like to think we are. We've got a history of targeting different minorities at different times. I remember well when we were frightened of and openly discriminated against boat people. Then our Muslim brothers and sisters were targeted. And in recent years, and significantly increasing, it's been the Jewish community's turn. I feel really sad that the reality of life in Australia at the moment means that our synagogues, our events, and our Jewish schools need to have armed guards standing outside. Being visibly Jewish, or just openly and proudly Jewish as I am, means we're always conscious of how physically or emotionally safe we are at the moment. Can we show up fully as ourselves? How is our community perceived at any given moment? So I live in two realities at once: a deep appreciation and gratitude for the openness of Australia's multicultural society, and a level of attentiveness because that openness is currently quite fragile. But what I really value is the opportunity to sit in spaces like this, to listen and to be listened to build genuine connections across differences with people of different religious and cultural backgrounds, people like Mehtap and Livia, who I consider friends, and with others who are yet to become friends. Because ultimately it's those relationships, I think, not the headlines, not the assumptions, that will shape how we understand and treat each other as human beings.
Kathy, this is a wonderful story to hear people being able to have, respectful conversations, and we're doing this together. We're doing it together, and we're listening to each other respectfully, which is wonderful. Livia, if I can come back to you in terms of the theme of hope and the future, and I feel like Kathy and Meta, we're hearing that oozing out of what they're saying. What can the cities like Dandenong teach the rest of Australia, and do courageous conversations build stronger communities, do you think?
So I would start by saying that diversity is a good thing, and it should be celebrated, not apologised for. That's the strength of the city of Greater Dandenong and this country, notwithstanding that at times it is tested, it is fragile, as Kathy said, but we have a responsibility to ensure its continuation and continuation for all. People can, in fact, live, work, practice their faith, religion side by side. We see it every day in the city of Greater Dandenong. You just pop into the Dandenong market and it's there. It's alive, it's happening, and people simply get on with it and do so in a respectful way. Interfaith dialogue that is open and welcoming is a critical part of our rich social fabric of the community, and it should be acknowledged and valued and celebrated. And in terms of courageous conversations, yes, I think courageous conversations do build our community. And in this country, we have a long history of having courageous conversations that significantly improve the life of individuals and community and the national social fabric altogether. So for me, it starts with the conversation, but we simply need to get on with it. It needs to be the conversation with good action that follows. We need to open the doors and welcome people in. We need to invite people to the table, as Kathy and Mehtap have both said. Listen respectfully, take things on board, get uncomfortable when you need to get uncomfortable, but search your heart and your conscience in those conversations, and really seek to find places for people and keep them safe in doing so. And I think we also need to be honest. You know, this isn't easy work, this isn't easy service, but be honest as when we as a country, as a people, have let people down, acknowledge, work towards reconciliation on those issues and moments in time, and continue to promote hope, encourage people along the way, and we will find a way to get through the hard stuff and come out, I hope, as a people in a much better place for all of us.
No, that's very positive indeed, Livia. And that brings me to our final question, which is going to be a short little snippet from each of our guests today. But if the three of you could send one message to the world about faith and community, what do you think it would be? Can I start with you, Mehtap?
Sure. I suppose if I could send one message to the world, it would be this. The places like Greater Dandenong shows us what is possible. In one of the most diverse communities in Australia, people of different faiths and cultures and backgrounds are choosing every day to live, work, and grow together. That doesn't mean that there aren't challenges. We do see moments of understanding and racism, but what matters is how we respond. Here we respond by coming together through dialogue, through community initiatives, and through a shared commitment to respect and inclusion. And Australia's strength has always been its diversity, and in communities like Dandenong, we see the strength in action. If we lead with curiosity instead of fear and connection instead of division, we can build communities where everyone feels they belong. And that's the message I'd like to share, that unity is something we actively create, and it starts at the community level.
Some very wise words there, Meta. Thank you for that. And Kathy, from your point of view?
The message I'd like to share, if I had the opportunity, is to tell people we don't have to agree to behave with respect, kindness, and cooperation. Faith and community aren't about sameness. They're about staying in a relationship, especially when it's uncomfortable to do so, especially when we see the world differently. It's not agreement that builds community. It's showing up, it's listening, and it's choosing not to walk away from each other when the going gets tough, to maintain hope.
No, thank you for that. And finally, Livia?
Well, this is where I put my Catholic hat on and I draw on my Catholic social teaching, and my Sunday school teacher would be happy. But for me, it's a really simple message: service to others, faith in action. This happens not within the walls of a building, but out in community. And I can't emphasize that enough. we sit in buildings to pray and reflect, but ultimately what we want for community, for one another, for our brothers and sisters, happens out in community. And that faith in action, service first, servant leadership, is for me the message for us all.
Well, in terms of finishing up now, Livia Cursio is the Greater Dandenong Interfaith Network Executive Officer. Mehtap Williams is the Interfaith Network's President, and Kathy Kaplan, OAM, a Jewish community leader. What an intriguing, helpful, and hopeful conversation, ladies, that you have engaged us in today. Thank you very much for your time, for your insights, for your wisdom, and for the incredible work that you are doing. And we pray you can continue to do that, because the inroads that you're having into bringing people together is just remarkable. Thank you for being our wonderful guests here at Monday Matters today.
Thank you for
Thank
having
you for
us.
having us.
Thank you.